Well, good evening. We want to welcome you all to In the Blender with Madeline and Brandon Hyman. And I tell you, it's such an exciting time to share with you guys on this evening. Today is March the 14th. As many of you may know, some of you may not know, today is our anniversary. 19 years married to this young lady right here, and I tell you, it's been so exciting. We just pretty much chilled today, went out, had a doctor's appointment, and went and got a bite to eat and just came home and just rested. And so we have some of the family over here with us. You can see we got AJ behind us.
Say hi, AJ.
Say hi, AJ. Hi. And we got AJ with us, and I think Madison will be coming soon. But we just wanted to have some of the family come over and just to share with you guys and just enjoy our...
Say hi, Maddie.
Say hey, Maddie.
Hi.
Enjoy our anniversary time. We've rarely done this as far as our anniversary go with having the family over. So we wanted to do something a little different this year, and it's just been a blessing. And so we're going to be this next 30 minutes of just sharing some things as it relates to the blended family and how you can have a successful one. You're going to hear some of the pitfalls that we've experienced and some of the highs that we experienced as well. And we might let you hear from some of the children. I don't know, because I didn't quite ask them what they were going to say, so I'm not really prepared to hear what they got to say to you guys, so I'm about to play that by ear. Holy Spirit may say, no, don't do it. It's like, no, I'm just joking. But, yeah, so we got some family members over with, some of the children over with, as well as two of the grandkids, and we're just going to have a great time on this evening. So, again, we want to welcome you all out to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. Today, again, is our anniversary, 19 years. Sweetie, tell them a little bit about how it is being married to me for 19 years.
That's it. No, it's been a great 19 years. In one sense, it seemed like it's been a long time. And in another sense, it seemed like the time has just gone by so fast. But it really has been a great 19 years. We've had some ups, we've had some downs. But most of all, we've overcome everything, and we're still here.
That's right.
I'm still with him. I kept him.
Yeah, I think she still like me. I know it was a time she didn't like me, but I think now she likes me. So that makes these 19 years worth it all. I'm still trying to figure out what I feel about her, but so we'll talk about that later. But it's been a blessing. I wouldn't be half the man, 75% of the man. I wouldn't be 100% of the man I am today if it was not for her support, her backing, her discipline, her correction. She's done it all. She's been all. And so I've been blessed these 19 years to have this young lady by my side, to be an encouragement. Sometimes she can be really a pain in my backside, but you know, it's been a blessing. Yeah, you see that look? That's just the way I'll be feeling sometimes, but yeah, exactly. But I tell you, it's just been a joy. As you can see, we have Madison. I don't know what she's looking at right now, but we got Maddie behind us, and we got AJ. Say hello again, y'all.
Hi.
See, they want to do a bunch of talking, then when I put them on the spot, nobody got anything to say, so you know how that goes. But we're going to jump right into this week's episode. Just a recap on what we discussed on last week. Don't make too many changes at once. This is very important because it can unsettle the children. And so a couple things we want to go over again is don't make too many changes at once because it can unsettle the children. Don't allow ultimatums. The third one is limit expectations. And the fourth one is understand that everyone's traditions may not be the same. And these are important. And if you really want a little bit more insight on those, we're going to ask that you just go onto our page and look at, view the last week's broadcast. It's going to be very informative and very insightful. And we're not going to spend a lot of time on what we discussed on last week, but we just want to do a small recap. Also, the statistics were very insightful as well. But we want to share with you a couple of new statistics that we came up with today. The first one is couples who agree on spiritual beliefs report significantly higher marital satisfaction and couple closeness than couples who are on no or low spiritual agreement at all. And this is important because the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? And a lot of times you find out that when you're going into a relationship, especially a marital relationship in the confines of a blended family, if you two don't see eye to eye as it relates to the spiritual rearing and upbringing of the children, as well as the growth of yourself, you'll find that you'll start having problems. And those problems can be immense and sometimes devastating. So you want to make sure that you have that oneness as it relates to the spiritual rearing and upbringing of the children, as well as the gearing of the family. The second one is most couples in step families, and we really don't use the word step, but most couples in step families don't seek out premarital preparation.
I like blended families.
I like blended families too, sweetie. So we're gonna change that. Most couples in blended families don't seek premarital preparation. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, basically, it's just what it is. I'll even say for us, we didn't seek any kind of counseling prior to us coming together, nor throughout the time that we have any counseling. We kind of made our own way and overcame everything just on our own.
Well, let's back that up a little bit. I think we did seek out counsel.
We did?
We did. But who we sought out counsel with wasn't equipped to counsel us. That's what happened. And so because of that, we just didn't seek further counsel. And so we just began to buy books and read articles on blended families and how
Which wasn't a lot, though.
Which wasn't a lot because we didn't really find a lot, but we sought what we could seek out. And it's important because there were a lot of mistakes that we made, and you've heard us discuss a lot of them or some of them in the previous broadcast. One of my daughters, she's looking at me like, yeah, y'all did.
Yeah, she can come right here and say something.
No. And so it's important to really seek out counsel, seek out advice, seek the wisdom of God as it relates to going into this blended family, because there's a lot of things that come with a blended family that you may or may not be ready to deal with, or may or may not be ready to handle. And so it's important to seek out that counsel, seek out wisdom, seek out those that have gone and have had a successful blended family relationship. And so that's one of the most important things. Also, closeness with either the biological or stepfather is associated with a decrease in the likelihood of adolescent boys that will expect to divorce someday. And I can say that I'm just using that for myself because there are some statistics that say that a lot of women enter into blended families more than men. And so I just wanted to bring this statistic out because it was important for me seeing my dad pretty much every day. That's one thing I could say about my father. There's a lot of things I could say about my father, but one thing in particular was I always saw him every single day. And that had an effect on me because I always wanted my children to see me, whether they were my natural children or by marriage. I still wanted them to see me every single day. And so that gave me a groundwork, that laid a groundwork for me as relates to being in the home, being visual, making sure I was there for any input, any instruction, any guidance, any correction, or whatever needed to be done. It just made me settled in that position. So I think that's a very important statistic. But you know what? I think we're going to call one of the girls up, sweetie. What you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Which one?
Which one want to answer some questions. Who want to go first?
Let's go with Shadava.
Yeah,
she got the
Shadava
biggest mouth.
Come on around here,
We're going to go with the one that got the biggest
kind of
mouth.
switch up a little bit. I'm going to slide over a bit and let her squeeze right on in this spot.
She can get in between the kids. Yeah, let her get right there, sweetie. Let her get right there.
You get right there and I'll go back here to AJ.
And so this is our middle daughter, a.k.a. the big mouth, the one with the biggest attitude.
Yes, that is
the pain in my butt.
And their mama.
Their mama. And so, Shadava, what was your experience? Give us a little bit about your experience with the blended family.
Initially, I didn't like it at all. We had a system set up where each of us had different chores that we were responsible for. We would rotate out each week. You came into the picture, and it's like, oh, I don't care what you guys have going on. You know, you changed up what we did, our day-to-day routine, and we just felt like it wasn't fair, you know, that you came in and just shook the whole world up, our world up, and didn't, to us, it didn't seem like you cared, you know, about shaking the world up. But throughout, or going through that experience, it allowed us to get stronger, to come closer together, and to really, you know, be a family. I feel as though I'm closer to you than I am to my biological father. I know that anytime I have an issue, I call him more times than I even call my mom. You know, so it was rough in the beginning, but now, you know, it's definitely proved itself worthy.
So let me ask you this question. What would you consider, or is there something you can consider to be the turning point in our relationship?
I mean, somewhere along the line, I felt like you actually started to hear us and not just make decisions without, I mean, we get that we were the children and that you guys are the parents and you get to make the decision, but a lot of things we did not feel included in at all.
Which is true.
You know, it was a lot of discussions that were had like without us. And it was almost as if like, okay, yeah, so this is what we're going to do. We don't care what you guys think, how you guys feel. You're just going to go along with it. And that was the case.
So give me an incident. If you could think of one incident that you would say like, this is when I really saw us change.
I would have to say that I think I was 17. So we had already been in a blended family for about 3 years. And those first 3 years for me were really, really rough. And at 17, you know, I think for me, I had decided that as soon as I could get out that house, I was getting out, which is why I went to the military.
She was gone.
As soon as I graduated, I was out of there. But the closer I got to that point, I started to not care about a lot of things that were going on in the house. And I think me not caring is when I started to notice that things had started to change. So, you know, there were more conversations that included us. There were times where before you guys made a decision, you brought it to us like, oh, well, we're thinking about doing this or doing that. How do you guys feel? What do you guys think? And we were actually able to give our input.
Okay.
So.
And we just had a question. One of the questions one of our Facebook followers asked was, how old were you when we first got married?
14.
14.
13.
13.
Yeah.
13.
They were 10,
I was
13 and 16.
10, 13, and
yeah,
16.
that's right.
And so as you can see, I already had 2 teenagers and 1 on the way. So it was and a grandchild. No, she was actually here. Deja was here.
No.
When we
got
married. Exactly.
Not when we got together.
Yeah, when we married. Every time we married. And so, you know, so I entered into, you know, already established and going forward family. And so there were a lot of challenges that we faced. And I think, for me, I think one of the things that kind of stuck out in particular was your graduation. I think that was a turning point. We're not going to talk about this one at the beginning.
I can't wait to see what she's going to say.
Yeah, but it was hilarious. But I think that was, for me, that was a real turning point because it kind of really like cemented us as a father and daughter team. You know, although there were some things already in motion as far as Shadava going into the military and things of that nature, but it cemented us because from that point on, it was like, you know, we always had time for each other conversation-wise. whatever need to be discussed, we always sought each other out. And so I just think that for me was a turning point in our relationship. And so we thank you, Shadava, for sharing with us. I'm going to cut you off because you might say something that I ain't really prepared for. And so we're going to ask Shy to come and see what she got to say on
answer a couple questions.
A couple questions as far as the blended family as relates to me and her. This is going to be interesting. So this is my disclaimer. It's going to be interesting.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer. This is Shia. This is my baby right here. I don't think we've had the roughest of relationships, but I think we probably had the toughest relationship. And so, I don't know what she's going to share with you guys. I'm going to be just as surprised as you are. And so, Shai, just give us a little bit of your experience with the blended family.
I think it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life. First and foremost, because personally, you came in my life at a young age, and I had always put my father on a pedestal. It was no man that can touch him, no man that can be him. And you came in, and you tried to, I felt like that you tried to take his place. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, it was just like it'll never work. Exactly. It'll never work. And that's why I believe we had the kind of roughest relationship, because you came, you married my mom, but you're not my father. You'll never be my father. And that's how, I looked at the situation.
And so, was there a point in? Well, let me go back, because this is some good stuff right here. Good. This is good, and it's important because one of the things that she didn't understand or realize was that I never intended to take the place of her father. But of course, if you see her, she looked just like him. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I understand wholeheartedly, her position and her stance as it relates to me coming in, because I'm very strict. I was very tough guy. It was pretty much my way or the highway, and so it was kind of rough for them, coming in and putting down my own system and my way of doing things, and not really regarding their way of doing things, or even really caring so much about how they felt. And again, like she said, her father was on this pedestal that nobody can get with. And so it just put me at a disadvantage, because I didn't have a chance anyway, but, I'm persistent, I'm a fighter, and regardless of how things may have felt the same, I was just going to make sure that I was going to love this girl with all my heart, my mind, my soul, and one day I will win her. And let me ask you this question. Was there a point in our relationship where you saw things change?
It would have to be, being as though I was the youngest, I had more time in the house with the two of these guys when both of my older sisters was already gone. And I think that's when the relationship started to build, because it was pretty much all focused on me. Mm-hmm. It was all focused on me. It was more time spent with me. I was included in more activities with the two of you guys because it wasn't anybody else in the house. And that was the building point. That was the building point.
Because I'm going to tell you, once the older two daughters left home, it just became apparent that you have to put some time and effort into this. And so I would make it my place, my position, my priority to want to spend as much time with her as I could. We would go shopping. A lot of stuff I probably bought that she really ain't like. But she wore it anyway, you know what I'm saying? She wore it. Probably when she left me, she probably changed clothes and put something else on. And when she was coming back home, she put back on what she had on. But, I just wanted to make sure that she knew that I loved her and that I would do any and everything for her to make her happy. And so that was, I think that, correct. I think that was one of the turning points in our relationship. And so, but let me ask this question. As an adult, what do you think about our relationship as a blended family?
I don't know. It doesn't even now. It doesn't even. I wouldn't refer to it as a blended family.
Okay.
It just feel like our natural family.
Gotcha.
Just like a natural family.
And that's important because that's the ultimate goal, and that's why we started this. Because at the end of the day, there should be no difference. Although there are differences, there shouldn't be a difference. One thing, like I said, you guys and my daughters can attest to this. They've never heard me call them stepchildren. They've always been my daughters. These have always been my grandchildren. And so they will always be my daughters and they will always be my grandchildren. And so in order to lay a foundation for a successful blended family, the things like calling steps and you know, those differential type of wording have to be eliminated to have success. And so, again, this is my family. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they are my natural daughters. And so because we definitely got a lot of ways, a lot of our personality traits are very identical. And so it's just been a blessing to have them over here to share with us. Like you can see, I wasn't really sure what they was going to say. And so, you know, I'm praying while they're talking. And,
That will hurt. You will laugh.
Thanks for sparing me. I appreciate that so much.
But what's like one tip that both of y'all could share with like maybe you know, other children that's in blended families now? I mean, it's so many things that you can share, but what's one important tip that you think that you can share with another child that may be in a blended family that may be having issues or something that would be helpful to them?
I would say just be open, just be accepting. You know, just be open and accepting to everything new.
And I would say that if you feel as though you're not being heard, instead of trying to talk, maybe write a letter. And that way, you know, that person can read your thoughts without you being interrupted. They can always go back to it to get a full understanding of how you really feel.
I like that.
That's good.
I like that.
That's good.
I like that. Like you heard, be open. Be open to changes, because that's important. You know what I'm saying? As far as parents as well as children, you can't come into this relationship with a closed mind, because when you do that, you don't give the other one an opportunity or a chance to really show you what they can bring to the table as relates to establishing this relationship and this family, and also too. Because we're very emotional people, I like the suggestion of writing it down. You know what I'm saying? And it go both ways. As a parent, you can write a letter to the child. Hey, listen, blah, 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 blah. This is what I feel. This is my expectations. This is my desires. And let them read it, because a lot of times when you're in discussion and your feelings come up, sometimes you get off course in relating what you really want to relate, because your feelings overtake what you really want to share. And so I think these are some very helpful tidbits and hints as it relates to building up the blended family and taking it to the next level. And so I want to thank Shadava and Shia for joining us, Madison and AJ for joining us on our anniversary episode of In the Blended Family with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. And I'm going to ask Shia to switch places with her mom real quick as we get ready to close out this broadcast. As we go into the closing out of broadcast, there are a couple of keys to successful blended family that we want to share with you guys. The first is practice forgiveness. And this is so important because, as you can see, there were a lot of things that happened in our relationship that had we not begun to practice forgiveness, we would never be where we are today. Because many people didn't expect us to make it 6 months, and here we are 19 years later, stronger than ever before, which is evident by what you see behind us. And so practice forgiveness.
You know what? You just shared your testimony on that part, because you did that. You actually went to them, each one of them. Share how you did that.
Yeah, actually, I think it was 2008. 2008 when we relocated back into the area. Holy Spirit told me I needed to sit down with each of my daughters and really ask them for forgiveness. And it wasn't a tough thing to do, because for me, I'm not a prideful person, and so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And so understanding that I'm wrong is the most hard thing, or understanding that you're wrong, I found out is the hardest thing for people. But for me, when I understood that I was wrong and a lot of my decision making, a lot of my stance as it related to them, I met with each and every one of them. And I remember just sitting down with each and every one of them and just starting off saying, listen, I want to first say, forgive me. Forgive me for all the bad decisions and all the bad choices and all the wrong things that I may have said and done. And, and I think it really changed our dynamics as it relates to a family, because it opened them up to really discuss with me their feelings and their emotions. And so it's important. Listen, if you make a mistake in this thing, it's just a mistake. If you make a wrong choice or a wrong decision, it's just a wrong choice and a wrong decision. But be a man or woman enough to say I was wrong. Right. And so I think it made a difference to them, because as this hard person, as this taskmaster, as this disciplinarian, as this drill sergeant sort of say, to come to them and say I was wrong and forgive me for the bad choices and decisions that I made, I think it made a grave difference in their lives. And I don't even know if they remember the conversation, but I know it was impactful for me, because a couple of us, we cried together, we laughed together, and it just changed everything. So one of the keys to a successful blended family is practice forgiveness. Mm-hmm. The second is establishing open-ended dialogue regarding concerns of all family members. And this is important because, like you heard Shadeva discussing, you heard even Shia, you have to have open-ended discussion. But a lot of my discussions were closed-ended. Mm-hmm. Hey, this is what we're going to do, and then that was that. Yeah, just that. And so it wasn't anything about, what do you guys think about this, or how do you guys feel about that? So if I would have known those things going into it, I'd say it would have been a lot better family dynamic, even than what it is today. I think it's awesome today, but I can imagine it would have even been even better had I had the knowledge and understanding to have open-ended conversations instead of closed-ended conversations. Also, make marriage a priority, and this is important too. And if one thing that we kind of did that was right was we made our marriage a priority, and I think because we made our marriage a priority, we kind of gathered the tools to now make our family a priority. Yes. And so make marriage a priority. Make time to date. We still date. We still flirt. I flirt more than she do. But for you guys that flirt more than your wives, don't feel bad. Because I flirt more than she do, and so whatever. I'm just gonna keep on flirting. So I don't know what that's about, but I flirt more than she do. And so continue to date. Continue to go out. Continue to spend time with each other, because it's important. You got the cares of this life and things that you're dealing with, and when you don't make each other a priority, then those things now become a priority, and you begin to wither in your relationship. And
making a marriage a priority is also family, because we do a lot of family things together. At one time, it seemed like we had kind of shifted away from that, but we do a lot of things together as far as family, because I've always been family oriented. And I think when you came along, it kind of shifted a little bit, because I was like a family oriented person and you was more of a loner. So
I was possessive.
That too.
Yeah. I was possessive.
And that was
she was mine.
The church had a lot to
all
do with
mine.
it too.
Back then, yes.
Yeah, that too.
We spent every single day in church. We spent more time at church than we did with each other.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm glad you said that, because that's what I love even about the ministry that we're in right now, is because our pastor's an extremely family-oriented individual.
Yes. It's always family first.
He's always talking about family first. He really cares about the success and the establishment of his children, the success and establishment of his marriage. And so it really laid down a whole new foundation for us as relates to our marriage and our family, and putting family first. And so prioritizing our family. And so that's important. And the last thing we're going to talk about is discuss expectations to avoid misunderstandings. And this is important. Make sure that you guys discuss expectations. Sit down with your family. If you aren't already married, if you're in the process of married and starting a blended family, sit down with your spouse to be and with the children, and make sure that you discuss expectations and discuss misunderstandings. How are we going to handle expectations? How are we going to handle misunderstandings? Because this is important, because you don't want to get to that point and don't know what to do and don't have any kind of guideline as relates to how to get out of this mess. And so we love you guys. We thank you for joining in with us for our anniversary.
And thanks everyone for all the happy anniversary
Yes.
love.
Hey, Mom, that's my mama right there. And so we thank you all for joining in with us again for our anniversary episode of In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman and Shadava and Shia and Madison and AJ. And what you
we'll
looking
do
at,
this
AJ?
again because they have so much to share as well that'll help other children that's going through,
Yeah, be
you know,
looking
issues.
out for my own broadcast one Tuesday.
Oh wait, just long as it ain't at 7:30. I don't care. Can't be 7:30.
Father, in Jesus' name.
Happy anniversary.
And
Thank you, Kelly.
We love you guys. We thank you guys for joining with us. Share this broadcast with all your
Yes.
Facebook family and friends. And we love you again.
Give our email address, huh?
You give our email, sweetie.
It's weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
That's right. Give it one more time.
weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
The reason why I asked her to do that is because somebody told me that I do all the talking and I don't give her opportunity to talk. So at least she can get an email address. So get an email address one more time.
weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
God bless you. We love you.
You can
Bye,
say-
guys. Love y'all. Say bye, everyone.
Bye.